time.
22 yards, pump fake by Jones. Gonna go deep down the far side. Got a man open in the end zone. Stills grabs a touchdown. Kenny Stills, what a pair of hands.
You know, I have no idea what the rest of this 2011 season holds in store for Oklahoma. But if it does result in them winning a national championship, I want you to remember this video and remember the date, September 17th, 2011. In the fourth quarter, the game was tied at 13. OU on the road in a record-setting environment for Doak Campbell Stadium. 84,000 plus, very, very loud, prime time, national television audience, and OU driving the ball more than 80 yards, and then the big touchdown, as you saw at the beginning of the video, Kenny Stills, who had a spectacular game in a night where Oklahoma's offense wasn't always efficient, but was when it needed to be. And the Sooners, #1 in the country, they'll remain that way as they defeat 5th-ranked Florida State on the road 23-13. This game, however, really surprised me as far as what we thought we were going to see. I thought we were going to see a high-scoring game. After all, both offenses very, very good. But the defenses turned out to be spectacular. As a matter of fact, Oklahoma holding Florida State to just 1 touchdown. Defense, very proud of you. Proud of the job that you did. You know, key #1 to the 4 keys of this ball game that I talked about earlier on the weekly matchup show. OU front 4, it's up to you. An A in this department, a solid A. 9 sacks on Florida State quarterbacks. Didn't matter if it was EJ Manuel or the backup in Clint Trickett. OU's front 4 had a terrific ball game. Frank Alexander wearing the Austin Box #12 jersey. The Hammer, Ronnell Lewis, Casey Walker, as well as Stacy McGee. You know, those guys up front, along with others, did a spectacular job. And then the linebacking core with Tom Ward, who had a pivotal interception in the first half with Florida State, threatening deep. Ward making an acrobatic play, picking off a pass that halted a Florida State threat. And then the outside linebackers, I thought, did marvelous as well, with Travis Lewis. We didn't think he was going to play. He had tweeted Monday night wasn't going to play. Well, something must have happened, because on Saturday, even though you could tell that that foot was a little tender, especially in the beginning, was out there, contributed, and Travis Lewis from his weak side linebacker position, if anything, he was instrumental for his defense because of how vocal he is, how players feed off him, especially for those younger players who need that guidance, and Travis Lewis was there. And then the other side, Tony Jefferson, wow, another spectacular game for him. The defense for Oklahoma was the story in this ball game, containing EJ Manuel, containing Florida State. Florida State at times had success, but for the most part, not much success for that Florida State offense. Playing in their friendly confines, it didn't matter. Oklahoma was up to the challenge. So, defense, all of you guys, all 11 starters, the backups who came in, you guys all deserve game balls. That was a marvelous performance in a very difficult environment, Tallahassee, Florida. Again, the biggest crowd ever to watch a game at that stadium, over 84,000 plus strong. But Oklahoma handled that environment and came away with the W. Now, on the offensive side, key #2, protection for Landry Jones, the Landry Protection Program. I'm going to go B in this situation. Thought by and large they did give Landry Jones enough time to throw. Remember, Landry's first interception came as a result of pressure that Florida State had applied, got past the OU offensive interior. Landry, granted, should have thrown the ball away, but instead it was on OU's second drive when it was 7-3. Threw a pass they shouldn't have. Florida State picked it off in OU territory. Thankfully, OU's defense, though, made that big stop and avoided trouble. But in that situation, Jones, we talked about it earlier, just throw the ball anywhere but down the center of the field, and also it might have been better for him just to take the sack in that situation. For Landry Jones, he came through when his team needed him the most. It's going to be, you know, the good. We're going to talk about the good and the bad of Landry real quick. Landry ran for a 1-yard touchdown. had the touchdown throw with the game tied at 13, but the ball was a little underthrown, and thankfully Kenny Stills was strong enough to secure that ball away from Greg Reed, who was tracking him down in the end zone. So marvelous play by Stills, and at least Jones got the ball there. But as far as the Heisman Trophy, his chances probably took a little bit of a hit. Threw for under 200 yards. Granted, Florida State's defense is better this year than last year, but had 2 interceptions. But at least Jones guided his team downfield when they needed him the most. He didn't let them down. But again, the stats are probably going to be a little damaging toward his chances to win the Heisman, because part of your Heisman hopes, besides winning, of course, rest upon those big yardage games as well as TD passes. And for tonight was not one of his best nights. I thought the ground game, in the beginning, I thought it was effective. It was kind of average as the game went along, but once again, in the fourth quarter, Oklahoma picked up the slack again. So I thought, again, both defenses really did a marvelous job. Both defensive lines, I thought, by and large, had their way. It was just a question in the fourth quarter of who could come through the most. And I think, again, when I talked about my prediction for this ball game, I thought that the big game experience of Bob Stoops, and also Landry Jones being there before, like he was against OSU last year when his team needed him and had 2 touchdown passes down the stretch in Stillwater. Well, on this evening, Jones able to answer Florida State's response to tying the ball game. Remember, Florida State never led in this ball game, not one time. I thought another key that we need to talk about real quick is going to be key number 3, the turnovers game. I'm going to go B- in this situation. OU did have 2 turnovers, but conversely they had 3 takeaways, including a huge takeaway when OU led by 7 points in the final minutes of the game. The Seminoles with Clint Trickett, who came in the third quarter after EJ Manuel got hurt. Manuel tried to come back in. It just wasn't going to work out. Trickett actually is not too bad of a passer, but fourth quarter, Javon Harris, who had 2 interceptions, made his second pick with Florida State, trying to mount one more scoring drive, and Harris would have none of that. So that's key number 3. I give OU a B- in the turnover battle. And then talking about the fourth and final key to this game, taking the crowd out early, or at least minimizing the crowd effect. I'm going to go B in this situation. You really can't take a crowd out like this, so what you try to do, you try to minimize their impact on the game, and this meant getting off to a good start. I will go B in this situation because if you compare Oklahoma in this game compared to their 2 losses last year, both on the road against Missouri and A&M, we've documented this, the Sooners got off to crappy starts. At least in this one, they scored on their opening drive thanks to the play calling of Josh Heupel, able to mix things up, keep Florida State off balance, and you saw the end result with Landry Jones scoring from a yard out. A marvelous drive which took a little more than 6 minutes off the clock. Florida State, though, didn't respond with a field goal, and unfortunately OU did throw an interception on their ensuing drive. So it wasn't a spectacular start, but it was certainly a better start than what we had seen against Missouri and A&M. Getting off to good starts on the road in a top 5 showdown like this one, very imperative, and the Sooners did that. So I do give them a respectable grade of a B. But once again, it was the Sooner defense. D did mean victory, as OU will maintain its #1 ranking as they will enter their Big 12 opener. It could be the last year for OU in the Big 12. I'll talk more about that in a second, as the Sooners will host Missouri on Saturday, September the 24th. And yes, it will be a night game from Gaylord Memorial. For Florida State, pretty much count them out of the national championship picture. I just don't think that their strength of schedule is going to allow them to work their way back into national championship contention. They play at Clemson the following week. That will not be easy. Clemson did defeat Auburn just this past Saturday. Florida State, if they can get past Clemson, I think all roads are clear for them to win the Atlantic Division and probably face Virginia Tech for the ACC Championship with a shot at a BCS bid. And for Oklahoma, there are several tough games to go, but at least they get over a major hurdle on the road against a big-name team in Florida State. So congrats to Oklahoma. Very proud of you. 23-13, the final from Doak Campbell.